The sky stretched endlessly, a sea of blue beneath the blazing daylight sun. Inside the airplane, everything was peaceful. Passengers chatted softly, some reading, others drifting into sleep. The hum of the engines was steady, comforting, almost like a lullaby. Elena Carter sat in row 10, window seat, her gray hoodie pulled up, earbuds resting around her neck. She wasn't here to be noticed, she was here to disappear. 2 years ago, she had left the Air Force, leaving behind the roaring engines of F-16s and the ghosts of a mission gone wrong. Her eyes were closed, her breathing calm, as she tried to silence the memories that haunted her. Outside, the light shimmered across the wings, and everything seemed perfect, until it wasn't. Suddenly, a jolt rippled through the cabin. The seatbelt signs blinked on. Murmurs rose as turbulence shook the plane. A baby cried somewhere behind her. Then came a crackle from the intercom. The captain's voice, trembling, echoed through the cabin. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. If there are any combat pilots on board, please come forward immediately." The words hung in the air, slicing through the noise like lightning. Confusion swept through the passengers. "Did he say combat pilots?" someone whispered. Elena's eyes opened, her heart pounding. She sat frozen for a moment, her mind racing. No one moved. No one understood what was happening. And then, as if pulled by something greater than fear, she unbuckled her seatbelt. The moment she stood up, heads turned. Whispers followed her steps. No one could have imagined that the quiet woman from row 10 was about to change everything. Elena walked down the aisle, her pulse steady but her thoughts a storm. Every instinct screamed to stay seated, to stay hidden, but her training overruled hesitation. She reached the cockpit door, where a flight attendant stood pale and trembling. "The captain asked for help," the attendant stammered. Elena nodded, her voice firm. "Let me through." Inside the cockpit, chaos reigned. Warning lights flashed, alarms screamed, and the plane rattled violently. The captain was gripping the controls, sweat glistening on his forehead. His co-pilot lay slumped in his seat, unconscious. "Who are you?" the captain shouted over the alarms. Elena stepped closer. "Elena Carter. Former Air Force fighter pilot." His eyes widened, disbelief flickering into hope. "We lost autopilot. Controls are unstable. I can't keep her steady." She slid into the co-pilot's seat without hesitation, scanning the instruments with practiced precision. "You did the right thing calling for help," she said. Her hands moved quickly, adjusting knobs, checking altitude, fighting the storm battering the aircraft. "You've flown fighters?" the captain asked, voice shaking. "Yes," she said quietly. "And I've survived worse." Outside, lightning flashed like gunfire, painting the cockpit in bursts of white and blue. The plane dipped sharply, screams echoing from the cabin. Elena gritted her teeth, gripping the yoke. "Not today," she whispered. "Not these people." The captain looked at her, this stranger who had become his only hope, and nodded. "Let's bring them home." The plane trembled as if caught in the fist of an angry sky. Clouds towered like mountains, lightning branching across the heavens. Elena's eyes darted between the instruments, reading wind speeds, altitude, and warning signals. "Left engines unstable," she muttered. The captain tried to adjust power, but the turbulence was too strong. "If that engine goes," he said, "we lose control." Elena's jaw tightened. "Then we make sure it doesn't." She guided the plane's nose upward, wrestling the storm's fury. Passengers screamed as the aircraft shuddered, oxygen masks dropping. "We're not going down," she said through clenched teeth. The captain glanced at her, amazed by her focus. "You've done this before." "Too many times," she replied. Her hands trembled slightly, not from fear but from muscle memory, the kind forged in battle. Every jolt reminded her of her last mission, the one that ended in fire. She saw flashes, her squadron, the explosion, her commander's final words. Guilt clawed at her chest, but she pushed it down. "Stay with me," she told herself. "This is now." The storm roared louder, rain hammering the windshield. "Altitude 8,000 and dropping," the captain warned. Elena adjusted the throttle, coaxing power from the sputtering engine. The plane climbed, stabilizing just enough. "We'll make it," she said, though her voice shook with exhaustion. In the cabin, passengers clung to their seats, praying silently. A little girl pressed her face to her mother's shoulder. "Mom, who's flying the plane?" the mother whispered. "An angel, sweetheart. An angel's flying us home." Minutes felt like hours. The storm refused to break. Elena's arms ached, her breath ragged. The captain's voice cracked. "Hydraulics are fading. Then we fly it like a wounded bird," she replied. "Hold her steady." Every second was a battle. The yoke fought back, jerking violently as crosswinds slammed the aircraft. "We need to descend before fuel runs dry," she said, scanning for radar signals. "Nearest emergency strip." The captain's eyes darted. "Coastal base, 50 miles east. If we can reach it." "We'll reach it," Elena said, voice firm. Lightning flashed again, blinding white. She flinched, remembering missile trails in the night sky. Her breath hitched, but she kept going. "Left wing taking strain," she muttered. The plane lurched, alarms screaming anew. Passengers cried out, hands gripping armrests. Come on, she whispered to the aircraft, coaxing it like an old friend. "Don't give up on me now." Below, the clouds began to thin, revealing glimpses of ocean waves raging beneath. "We're through the worst," the captain said. Elena shook her head. "Not yet. The landing will be hell." She keyed the radio. "This is Delta 473. Former USAF pilot at the controls. Request emergency landing clearance." Static crackled, then a calm voice replied. "Copy that, Viper. You're clear to land. We're with you." The word Viper hit her like a memory, her old call sign, a name she thought she'd buried forever. Tears blurred her vision for a heartbeat, but she steadied herself. "Let's finish this." The runway lights flickered ahead through sheets of rain. Elena's heartbeat matched the rhythm of the storm. "Crosswinds heavy," the captain warned. "You sure about this?" She exhaled slowly. "I've landed with worse odds." The plane dipped lower, buffeted by gusts. Passengers whispered prayers. "Flaps down," she ordered. The aircraft jolted violently. The captain's grip tightened. "You have control." "I have control," Elena said. The ground rushed closer, every second a knife's edge. Her focus narrowed, hands, yoke, horizon. Nothing else existed. "Steady, steady," she murmured. The wheels screeched against the wet asphalt, bouncing once, twice, before slamming down hard. The plane veered, tires skidding, engines roaring in protest. Elena fought the controls, pulling reverse thrust, wrestling metal and wind into submission. "Come on, hold!" she shouted. The plane shuddered, slowed, then silence. They had stopped. For a heartbeat, the world held its breath. Then, applause erupted. Sobs, cheers, cries of disbelief filled the cabin. Elena leaned back, her hands trembling. The captain turned to her, eyes wet. "You just saved 300 souls." She shook her head, her voice barely above a whisper. "No. They saved me." As passengers disembarked, many stopped to thank her. Some reached out to touch her hand. The little girl from before ran up, hugging her leg tightly. "Thank you, Angel," she whispered. Elena smiled softly, eyes glistening. She had spent years hiding from her past, believing her story ended in failure. But today, at 30,000 feet, she had found redemption. The captain approached, removing his hat. "The world should know who you are." Elena shook her head. "Let them just know they're safe. That's enough." Outside, the sun broke through the clouds, painting the tarmac in gold. The storm was gone, replaced by calm light. Elena stepped out, breathing in the cool air. For the first time in years, she felt peace, not the kind that comes from running, but the kind earned by facing what you fear. Cameras flashed in the distance, news crews already arriving, but she turned away. To her, this wasn't a story about heroism. It was about second chances. As she walked toward the terminal, she glanced back at the plane, scarred, battered, but still standing. She smiled faintly. Not bad for a day's work, she murmured. Somewhere, in the clouds above, it felt like her lost comrades were watching, proud. She had finally forgiven herself. And though no one on that flight would ever forget the woman from row 10, Elena Carter knew that the only thing that truly mattered was that she'd answered the call, one last time.